Hello everyone, and today I'm going to show you how to use this Sencore tube tester. There's not a lot of information about it online, so I figured I'd show it off, show how it works, and it might be able to help someone if they say get one or something. So let's get into it. So here we begin. First, if you were to get one of these, say online or whatever, I recommend that you change the capacitors out. If I recall, there was 3. They're pretty common values, and I recommend you change them just in case they go bad. There's a lot of resistors in here. You don't have to worry about changing those, I suppose, if they're close enough. You don't need a very accurate tester if you're just testing some tubes every once in a while to check if they're good or if they got shorts. But of course, if a resistor was fully bad, then you'd want to change it. But in this case, they're good enough for this situation. And, well, I'll show you how to test a few tubes in here. So what you're going to need, besides for your tester, and first, because this one is tube powered, there's a 12AU7 if I recall in here. You turn it on, it's going to warm up. This takes like a minute here. Alrighty, now it's warmed up. You know it's warmed up when it reaches the 0 here. Now first thing you want to do, always, is you want to set it so it's at the cal line. Now this is not the original meter for this tester, but it doesn't matter because it's the same impedance if I recall. Now, as you see, you're going to need to do this about every time you use this. Mine's always off. Sometimes it's close, sometimes it's not close. Right now it's not close. So what you're going to need to do, a screwdriver handy here, you're going to need to turn this screw, or on this one there's a screw right here, and you want it to get it to line up to the final line right there. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want it kind of close. So now it's calibrated for testing. Now, I recommend, first off, set your voltage all the way down. This is the filament. Voltage for the tube, mite's the filament. You got your load, and then you got your, what would be just a setup for whatever kind of tube that you got, and also for adjusting your shorts test. So, leave it on emissions here. Got grid leakage, short test, and to set it, and of course turning it off. So now, let's test the tube. You're gonna need a book. This one's really beat up. Doesn't matter though, because it's got the information. And I got a tube here. First, test your tube. You gotta find whatever number's on it. Right here. I don't know if you can see it. It says 6L. Let's see here. A 6L6. This came out of a ham radio, if I recall. When I parted it out because it was missing the power supply. 6L6. So you're gonna go through your book here. It's alphabetical. And then just strictly number tubes are on the back. Okay. L6L6. So now you're gonna set it to what it needs. Usually the first number on a tube is the voltage. So you're going to set it to 6 volts. Next, put the C in this case, as indicated. 6 on setup, usually it's 6, or on average. Then E for this test. Now I'll indicate what socket you got to put in. There's 2 octal sockets on here. Most cases it goes to number 1, but you do want to check. In this case, it is 1. So now what we're going to do, just want to line up the pin, the holes. Now, like any sort of vacuum tube, it's going to warm up. If I recall, this tube tests good, but that was a while ago when I last tested it. And as any old tube tester, it can be a little flaky sometimes. Yeah, see, there we go. Again, the emphasis, it's a little bit flaky. I probably should change out the tube sockets, but I haven't gotten around to doing it, and I can move it to make it work. So now you see on your emissions here, most likely you want something above the question mark. I do have a tube today to present that is going to be below that, but tests really good. Any tube that pretty much has emissions that are past 40 will work. But when you start getting lower on the scale here, between 20 and 40, that's where you start to lose the ability for it to function. Which in this case, I do have a rectifier today, which I'm going to show that. Now these tubes will get warm. Hasn't gotten warm yet because it's only been on for like a second. Now, why don't I show off that rectifier next? Got a 5Y3, really old one. Comes out of a console radio I've been working on recently, and it has all the original tubes in it. One of them is bad though, and this one tests weak, which you can tell because the high voltage in it is lower than what it should be. So alrighty, 5Y3. You need 5 volts, which makes sense. B, 6, and D. Now this can, whatever everyone say, you want to look for sometimes potential like shorts that has the little indicators there that there's potential shorts on H and H-K. Now there's one thing I recommend when you turn this off is to always set the filament voltage all the way down, just in case say you plug one in and you forget that you left it on. I did that once before, and it kind of sucked. It wasn't a very valuable tube, it was like $5, but still, you don't want to burn up more tubes than you have to, because it still costs. As you can see here, it gets about 40. This tube is supposed to put out about, in that radio, about 200, not 200, like 300 volts. Or maybe it was 240. I don't know. Don't remember 100%. But it was about 30 volts under what it should have been. And the radio operated, but it didn't operate well. There was a little bit distortion in the sound, stuff like that. I recommend that you change out the tube if it doesn't test so great. Of course, if you wanted to leave it original, you can leave it in there. It just might not operate as well as it should. Now in this case, if you wanted to see this go all the way up, you can increase the voltage a little bit, because this is a voltage. Now, it's at 6 volts instead of 5, as indicated by the 6. See, now if we go up into the good, it's because there's more current going through it, and we're going to say it's emitting more, because the emitting surface filament is most likely just, I don't know, electrons are going to say. It doesn't put out as much as it should. Again, old tube. It's from a 1940 radio, original one. It seemed pretty used up, the radio itself. Probably why. So, keep that in mind maybe. But then again, it's also like, say, if you're testing a CRT, if you wanted, say, get more emissions out of it, there's also like the rejuvenation things. This doesn't have anything like that. Don't know if any of his other do. And before we stop this one, I'm gonna show other tests. Grid leakage, I'm on it at 0. It's possible it can go up a little bit. I've had it before on this tester, and tube's fine. Also had one that went up all the way here, near the top. Still was fine. It didn't affect the radio. It was a new old stock tube from a really long time ago, and it works fine. So I don't know if it's just emission tester, or maybe the tube is a little bit bad. Don't know. Next, you do shorts test. To test shorts, you're gonna go around the spring with turning this knob. You don't got any shorts? No shorts. No shorts. No shorts. No shorts. No. 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 Short indicator. As indicated by the book here, 5/3. Got the little asterisk. Normal shorts, H and H.K. Got an H, nothing on J, nothing on K. Bam. This is the little indicator light. It's a little looks like a neon lamp. It's pretty neat. As you can tell, tests good. Very satisfactory. I'd probably recommend changing it. It's, when I say good, it's good enough. It's not bad. Next we're going to do a tube that has a pin on the top, which is this GE bulb here. It's a 6A8G. G stands for glass. And the old school style. So I can look for 6. It does usually take some time to look through these books, because, well, first, it is alphabetical, which is nice, but there's lots of tubes, and sometimes it takes a minute to find it. 6A8. Right here. So we're gonna set it at 6 volts on E, 6, and E, put in pin 1. Now, because this has the pin on the top, what you're gonna do is you're gonna need this guy. It's got the little clip, goes onto the top. If I recall, this tube test is good. It is new out of the box. Pin, click it onto the top. It is warming up. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. Comes up. It is General Electric one. I got in a box of tubes and whatever for like $2, so I thought that was a pretty good deal. Comes up, right voltage, grid leakage. See, sometimes it comes up a little bit, but it hasn't affected anything, is what if I've used. So I might just be a little oversensitive, not sure. Shorts, it didn't indicate there was any sort of numbers here that might potentially be shorts. There's times that it will flash, but that doesn't necessarily indicate there is a short. Again, it's possible. Back emissions, that's good. If you want to let one of these sit, you could put it on emission, put some foil nut voltage in it. It might be just a test to see if your tubes light up. So we're gonna put top pin, pull it out. Again, put this back down. Now we got 2 other tubes for us to test today. Got a miniature tube. This is gonna use a different socket. It's most likely gonna use 4. It's a 1U4. Any sort of 1 volt tubes and some 3 volt tubes, you won't be able to see the filament in them. That's intentional. They're a lot more, I guess you could consider efficient, or more efficient, as they don't require as much of a voltage. Pull out of this little box here. Beautiful little tube. And it should be a 1U4 as I put it in the 1U4 box. I think. Maybe not. Oh yeah, right there. 1U4. The writing does come off of these pretty easily, so that's why you always want to set it back down to 1, because you would pop one of these, because the filament is very weak in these. If you had it, say, at 6 volts, it'd pretty much be toast. Maybe you'd be able to get lucky. I haven't been able to be so lucky. But such case, 1U5, wait, 1U4. See, 1 volt filaments. It's gonna be, put it to F, 5, F, and 7. So the higher voltage runs tend to be like 6 volts. Tend to go in socket 4 here. See how fast it goes. Very great tubes. Besides for weak filament, if you overpour them, they're very easy to break. But they immediately get going. Tests good. This one was in the box. Don't know if it was new. Might have been, might not have been. Oh well. Test for grid leakage. Same. A little bit above. Whatever. Shorts test. Go all the way around. Test fine. Emissions. Good. That's how you test one of the small tubes. Now lastly, we'll have a loctile tube to test. Loctiles are, I wouldn't consider rare, but they're a little bit less common than an octal tube with one of these sockets on the bottom. They're not necessarily bad tubes. The tube design themselves, internally, they're really good tubes. Problem is, the tiny pins on the bottom, they tend to get corroded a little bit. And so the sockets tend to need to be cleaned. Especially at this point in time, because they're like 80 years old. Got a Sylvania tube here, brand new, 7A7. Gonna look in here, find 7 volt first. There's a lot of 6 volt tubes in here. 7A7, so it should be at the beginning here. 7A7, there you go. Put it up to 6 volts. Put it on E. Now, as I indicated, in most cases it will be 7 volts, but in this case it wants you to set it at 6. And then F, which it's on. And then you want to put it in pin 9. Which should be this guy right here. As you can tell, they're kind of a pain to put in. Then you got, in case you're wondering at the other ones, these are taller miniature tubes or whatever. This is a true miniature. Something like a compactron. Probably going here and here. I don't have any, so I couldn't present any. And here we got it coming up. Like I said, this one's new in box. I don't think I've ever tested it. When tubes sit for a long time, they don't have their max emissions. As you see, it's coming up slowly. So it'd probably take a while before I'd get to its fullest potential. And usually putting a load through these tubes for hours and hours, which is usually a good idea after, say, you put some new capacitors in the radio, to let it run for a while, because the performance will change and the tube's emissions will change. So you don't want to align it when you just put new capacitors in it and you just let it run for a little bit. You want them to get to where they can get to, and that's usually where they'll be then, because they don't emit everything that they can when they're first taken out of the box from sitting. This is a really old Sylvania, most likely from the 40s. If you're a vacuum tube from the 40s, I don't think you necessarily want to work the moment you get plugged in anymore, because your transistor counterparts probably make fun of you. Alrighty, so this is probably where it's going to sit for a little bit. I'm not going to let it run forever here. It is a new tube. Most likely will do okay. Grid leakage is low. Shorts. I didn't check if there's anything indicating that there could be a short light that would be on. There you go. So, the test's okay. And again, you got this. This is your voltage. You want to set it to where the tubes asks for. You could give it a little bit more. It might be needing closer to 7 at this point to get up to where it needs to get. At about 60, whatever. Nothing fantastic. It'll still work. Tube stuff starts to not work when it gets below 20. That's when you start getting real drop-offs in performance or output. Like rectifiers, they really won't output as much voltage as they should. Tuner tubes might not tune right. Might get weird sounds and stuff. But usually tubes aren't bad. Most tubes that are in radios now still work, because when they got retired, they either still worked and just got put away, or if they had some other issue that wasn't tube related, is where they usually got put away. So I got tubes tested here. I don't think there's anything else that would really need to be said about this. It works. Again, if you find one of these, I recommend you change the capacitors. It'll help immensely. You don't want them to go bad. If they short, something like that, may kill it. don't want to do that. There's one other thing about this one that's kind of neat, is that you have a socket for black and white TVs. Now, I don't have any old televisions, mostly because I can't find any. But this would test some picture tubes. There's a section in the back of the book that talks about it. There isn't a lot said about it. This isn't, I don't think, the original book for this particular unit, but it is one that'll work. So, it's kind of neat. It's neat that it can do it. But again, it's most likely going to be for really old black and whites, which are considered a dying breed. There's not a lot of old TVs left in the world, which is sad, but that's kind of how it is when you get the newer flat screens or whatever to replace the old TVs. So, this was a look at this tube tester. Hope you found it helpful. I'm not the greatest at explaining things, but I do hope it helps someone. Maybe we'll consider making you want to buy one of these. It's nice, it's small, it's compact. Usually up here there's a mirror. I have it taken out for the uses of this video, because there'll be a lot of reflection and stuff. And yeah, now when you take one of these out, this will get warm. Any sort of non-rectifiers or whatever probably won't get so warm. That's the thing about Loctals, they kind of lock in, which is nice for portables from a long time ago, which you will see them. I have a Philco one from the very late 30s, early 40s that has these Loctals in it, and you really need to clean the tube sockets out. But once you clean them, they're okay. Then you turn it off, lights will turn off. This one's nice, it has a little indicator bulb. You'll see the lights pop on when you turn it on. Turn it off, close it up, and this was a demonstration of this tube tester. Again, emphasize, hope you found it helpful. Want to see more of this kind of content? Like and subscribe. I plan to do, well, I have some transistor radios that you might look at. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.